I ended last year's Art Soundoff by talking about the character that I made for my comic strip, Jake and Leon. So I thought this year, Art Soundoff, I could do something similar. And I was thinking about talking about Captain PSA, which is the character you saw in the Justice League line art video. But I decided I wanted to continue the Jake and Leon theme and draw the characters that I created as part of the subcomic idea, which is Herodude and Enemies. And let me take my glasses off so I can see what I'm drawing here. And the concept for this was kind of born out of wanting to do something a little different, a little with the comic. And I did this storyline called, just simply called webcomic. And in it, I'm trying to figure out how to draw somehow. In the comic, Jake and his art buddy Max, you may remember them from last year's Art Soundoff, were starting to design their own webcomic. It was called Herodude and Enemies, because there's already a lot of comics out there, or shows, or whatever. It's so-and-so and friends. But I thought Herodude and Enemies would be kind of an interesting difference there. And so I got the name Herodude, and actually this kind of plays back to the Galactic Adventures comic I showed earlier in the month. Herodude was originally a character that, remember that character Power Boy? The first superhero I ever created? Well, that was a superhero that he had created, and he was working on the concept for his own comic that he was working. He was actually a 13-year-old comic creator, and he worked for a company and everything. Because I was 18 at the time, it was something it was kind of a homage to when I started doing the fold the paper in half kind of comics. And so he was a superhero, and he worked on a comic called Herodude. I never drew anything about it because it didn't fit to the story, and I never did any more Power Boy stories except in my head. And I've kind of revamped that idea so that now he's not really a comic creator anymore. He's just a regular kid who happens to be Jewish because you can be a man, because in Jewish custom you're a man at 13, even though that would make it at least a little easier for his father to understand him becoming a superhero, although he's still a very protective father. But I had the name, so I figured why not. And I'm trying to decide, I mean, obviously for me it would be a parody, but I don't think I've ever really committed to whether or not Herodude and Enemies is a parody within the world of Jake and Leon. So we'll see how that turns out. But the webcomic storyline is kind of a fun little look at how one goes about creating a comic book. How do you create the characters? How do you create the villains, the allies, that sort of thing. And the fun part was that, well, I don't know, fun relatively speaking, I guess, it actually took me a while to come up with a decent villain. So I get to do a commentary on how everybody talks about how tough it is to come up with a new hero, but has anybody thought about what it takes to come up with a new villain? Because a lot of the villain ideas are used too. So, and the interesting is, this first story that's in my head is actually not going to feature the villain I created. But I can finally move ahead, but I'll get to that in a moment. Let's see. I think I made these lower legs too short. So the concept was that Jake and Max finally decided to come up with their own comic, and I gave, I'm going to read from my comic here, the origin of Herodude. Tax attorney Herman Schmidt. Oh, crud. Stop it. Go back. Go back. No, not all the... Excuse me, folks. I'm having some little issues with all of my equipment today. Freaking laptop didn't want to work, and now the tablet's playing games with me, because why not? Tax attorney Herman Schmidt was helping a friend test out her new high-tech costume. Suddenly, a wizard's failed attempt at bringing a radioactive rock from another dimension sent it hurling right at Herman. The magic-infused radiation awakened previously unknown alien DNA from a forgotten ancestor. This infused Herman with superhuman powers. Because basically, Jake and Max couldn't figure out one origin, so they went with high-tech costume, radioactivity, magic, and alien DNA. So you got pretty much everybody, anyone can fit in there. And the wizard's he probably knows martial arts or something too. I think the joke in the caption was that the wizard did. As far as what happened to the wizard, I don't know. I don't know if that's something I'll bring up or not. I only have a basic idea for what Herodude is. I think I know what his powers are, but I'm going to save that for when the story drops. Okay, come on, I want to change windows. What are you doing? Go. So, like I said, I spent months trying to come up with a decent character name, or decent villain idea, and I ended up going with a mutated mad scientist called Doctor Monkeyface. And he's basically a mad scientist who was mutated into a monkey man, and now he's just kind of swearing revenge on the world, and for whatever reason he has, because he's a mad scientist. Let's get a cartoony. I can get away with giving him a big snarling face, big monkey face. You don't really see too many mad scientists in stories anymore. Did you notice that? There's so few. When I was a kid, there was all kinds of mad scientists and stuff. There was something left over from the old days. But now, there's no mad scientists. There's no... Occasionally you'll have some evil scientists, but you don't have the traditional, mad scientist. And I kind of miss them. The last one I saw was Dr. Insano and the Spoonie experiment and Top the Fourth Wall, but that was more of a almost like a parody homage kind of thing, and to mad scientists. The traditional mad scientist is kind of gone, and why couldn't you have a mad scientist villain? Everybody wants superhero comics to be realistic. What's realistic about guys in tights flying around punching each other? Oh, I'm sorry, now it's padded armor or some crap. I don't know. Gotta look at what. Did I draw his feet? No, that one would be there. No, never did. So, wear sneakers. I'll have him wear sneakers. Why not? But I kind of just want to do something a little different within the Jake and Leon comics. So I've got two cartoonists. I've got Jake, who's one of the hosts, and I've got Max, who kind of does the marketing and probably helps with building sets for the skits. And I was like, well, why can't I do something with these characters? They're two cartoonists. They're art buddies. Why can't they make their own comic? And I thought it would be first off, you have the webcomic storyline, which is all about creating a new comic idea, and then you have is it recording? Okay. Then you have the next series, which is next storyline, which would be all the Herodude stories, which is kind of, you just have a little fun in the comic now and then. Have three panels of the story, and then the fourth is Leon probably commenting on something they're doing, or just do something interesting. And there's one more thing that I'm doing here right now. This is not something I'm used to drawing on. This is actually cardstock. We actually, my dad accidentally picked up card paper instead of ditto paper, and for the scanner, which we don't make that many. You don't print out that many of our own greeting cards. So this is So this is basically me drawing on greeting card paper. Because I got a whole ton of it. Meanwhile, I'm running out of the Bristol and I have no money because I have no job. So I thought I'd try this out. I have all sorts of paths for drawing regular things, but let's say I want to do title cards for review shows. I usually do that on paper. So I thought that this would be a little stronger than the Bristol, a little stronger than ditto paper, but not as strong as the Bristol. So this might be good for doing or hand drawing title cards for that show, as well as you see me drawing during the review, so I don't have to be on camera too much. And so this kind of allows me to not be on camera. So it'll be interesting to have a new way to draw. I didn't make Herodude as muscular as I wanted him to, but wanted him to be. He's supposed to be, superhero parody, so he doesn't have to have rippling muscles, but he doesn't have to have. I want to give him some muscle definition. But that's, again, one of my weaknesses is, multiple body types. It's surprisingly harder to draw a fat person than you think. Standard body type is just easier to draw, 'cause even though I don't have one, I've got a bit of a gut on me. But I think this paper is going to work out for that thing. And then I still want to keep Bristol around in case I want to hand draw a comic. Yep, I definitely made the lower legs too too small. But it's good for this trial run. When I get done, I'll be posting this to DeviantArt. I'll try. I'll use the brush pen for the energy fields around his hands. Don't know if I'm going to color it on here or digitally, but let's see. Pentel pocket brush, because the brush pens for that Faber-Castell does for their pet series just has a problem with the tip staying around a while. So Jersey, one of the people behind Art Soundoff, is always talking about his Pentel pocket brush, so I got one and I found it quite useful. Probably should have used it on his hair too. Got for something like the logo here that needs to be a little more stiff, I'm going to use Micron. The Pitt pens have a nice balance of control and movement, so I can put a little more flow to it. Here's the Pentel when I need even more flow, but when I need something that's a little more static, like I want to add some background in here afterwards, that's what I use the Microns for. And just out of curiosity, I want to see if this doesn't bleed onto the other side too well. So yeah, this is going to be good paper to use. So that's oh, I didn't draw a monkey. I didn't draw Monkeyface's tail. And then I got to use a different pencil for drawing the background. Something different leads, different tips allow for a lot more control. If I want a little more flow, I use a different pencil. So I got like 3 different pencils I use to draw with. 2 of them primarily, and then I've got a whole bunch of pens, some of which I use primarily, some of which I use sparingly, and maybe that's something we can talk about next year. But we've already, I think, gone on pretty much. You pretty much get an idea of what I'm doing here. By the time you post this, hopefully this will be done up on DeviantArt, and it'll be really cool. But this is kind of the last Art Soundoff for 2017. I didn't get to do as many as I wanted to because of stupid oral issues. Everything seems to be going as best they can to not go my way lately, but I still have my hopes and dreams and futures and everything else, so I'm not giving up that easy. But if I can take it and finally get to a point where I'm doing something I enjoy, and it's worth going through the hassle. So, I hope you've enjoyed the Art Soundoffs that I've been doing. I hope you've enjoyed, you've gone to Twitter and looked for the hashtag, for the Art Soundoff hashtag, and checked out all the other people that were taking part in Art Soundoff this year. If you go to leantoart.com/artsoundoff, you well, I guess that won't matter anymore because the challenge is over, but you can always get some prompts. Maybe you want to do your own journaling at some point. And there'll probably be a wrap. Jersey and Rob will probably do a wrap-up at leantoart.com, the main page of the website, and probably have a post up there. And hopefully we'll all be doing this again next year, so hope to see you all then. I'm going to try to maybe not journal like I did or would have, but I may do something like this now and then again, just because I think it might be interesting. I want to start doing more video content. I definitely want to start doing more comic content. and other stuff. But that's it for Art Soundoff Challenge 2017. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed everybody else who was taking part. And as always, I wish you happy creating.